there is an association between Judaism and Zionism that is deliberate on their part, which conflates this idea that there isn't a separation. And by doing so, it gives credence to the anti-Semites that are legitimately out there that are trying to paint this as it's the Jews, it's the Jews, it's the Jews. And the person with the largest platform that I have seen personally, that I believe is engaging in that type of rhetoric, is Dan Bilzerian. Now, anybody who knows who Dan Bilzerian is knows that this guy's...
I have no idea who that is. Who is that?
He's not somebody that you would really have any interest in. He's a total jerk off in every sense of the word. He's a Nepo baby. He had a huge Instagram account that basically just had to do with him living a jet setter lifestyle in Las Vegas with strippers and guns and drugs and all of that shit. And all of a sudden, this guy is making posts about how free Palestine, which is all well and good. And I definitely agree with it. And I'm assuming, Colin, that this is the tweet that I had sent you to put up there. That was from Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah, that first one was Dan's tweet.
Okay. So this is what Dan Bilzerian decides is how he's going to continue to perpetuate this message of Leon Trotsky's real name was Lev Bronstein. Genrik Yagoda's was Enoch Lagoda, and Lenin's last name was Ulanov. They were all Jews, and they genocided 60 million Christians right before World War II. You aren't taught this because it kills the narrative of Jews always being the victims. Again, if you're going to go down this road, and let's be honest, he's also referencing Lenin, Bolshevism. He's referencing any form of left politics as essentially being, the enemy. And I have, like I said, I pay attention to what a number of these so-called influencers have to say, but Bilzerian is somebody who I have known for many years. I know what his shtick is, what his content is all about. It is not endearing. It's not warm. It's very chauvinistic and in your face. And I'm not a woke person in any way. Like I call a spade a spade. I see it as I see it.
This is definitely has a reeky of real anti-Semitism to it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like if it exists, you have to call it out. And what ends up happening because he does this, if you look at the commentary based on his tweet, what is there? What is the overwhelming message? You are giving credence directly to the Zionist movement, saying, see, they're all anti-Semites. They just want to kill Jews, etc. This hurts the movement against Zionism. Dan Bilzerian must be called out for this bullshit. And anybody who supports the Palestinian cause has to speak up against fuckheads like this, because he does not care about the cause at all. He is conflating Judaism with Zionism, and that is the last thing that should be happening here, because when you do that, you are only giving the Zionist movement more leverage to continue their genocide.
Correct. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've had people either come into my comment section on my streams, or they've come into my mentions on Twitter, and they would blame Jewish people for everything, right? And that is a dangerous line to walk on, because you need to be able to delineate between Judaism and Zionism. By the way, according to Dan Bilzerian, he's talking about those 60 million Christians. How many of those Christians were Nazis? We got to talk about that, because wasn't the Pope, or wasn't the Catholic Church also in support of, in Germany, of the Nazi Party?
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So therefore, just because they're Christian doesn't mean they're good. Just because they're Christian doesn't mean they're all right. Because here's the problem: most of the Zionists here in the United States are actually Christian.
Oh yeah. And they don't like Jews. Actually, a good fair amount of them are actually anti-Jewish. I don't even want to use the term anti-Semitic anymore, because we're talking about white Jews who aren't even Semites, and it's just annoying, the whole thing. But there are a lot of the Christian Zios are actually pretty much Jew haters. They need us to be in Israel for the rapture, right? They don't care about Jewish people at all. And Zionists who were traditionally secular didn't really care about being Jews either. So there's a reason that the Jewish Zionists and the Christian Zionists get along, because they're all anti-Semitic in terms of they're anti-Jewish. And that's what's so interesting. And what bothers me as a Jewish person who feels like I was used as a tool of ethnic cleansing and brainwashed and propagandized from like birth, as were my grandmother and my parents. Like that was just how it was. Jews were used by the Zionists. It isn't that the Zionists represent the Jews. They used the Jews and they're still using the Jews. So that's how I see it. I feel violated as a Jewish person by Zionism.
And Jay, you brought up a great point about the Christian Zionists, which is the Jewish Zionist movement is a much more affluent movement. The Christian Zionists are typically found in places like the Heartland in the South. It's the Joel Austins of the world. They prey on people who are educated in and around the church more so than they are around the school. And so that God-fearing adolescence really gets seeped into their brain, and it becomes a substantial part of their identity as they grow up. And so there was apparently some type of a pro-Israel, because it was Israel Day, I think a couple of days ago.
May 14th is Israel's Independence Day, or so they declared.
Independent from what?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what we always grew up calling it, because that's actually the same as my birthday. And so I always grew up, we would celebrate Israel's Independence Day. Ironically, the day before Nakba Day. See how those two things go together?
I want everyone here to see what a loony Christian Zionist sounds like when they're talking at one of these events.
Percent of Muslims are radical, which amounts to what, 220 million?
I actually hadn't heard the fact before that 20% of Muslims are radical.
Yeah.
Where did you get that information from?
Oh, do you want me to tell you exactly the source?
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
I can't recall. I'm going through menopause, so my brain is actually up to 25%.
Okay.
I'll show you.
No. This is really interesting. I like to learn you.
Yeah. And so, of course, the Islamic regime, the IRGC,
Reverend Hayley Ace never showed us the source of that statistic, so we fact-checked her and found it to be untrue. Can you tell me your name and what you're doing here today?
Yeah, my name is Reverend Hayley Ace. I'm a founder of Christian.
Reverend Hayley Ace.
She seems very Christ-like. Okay, so let's continue.
Well, come on. Don't you think those earrings give it away, Jen?
What bothers me is she's totally like, as somebody who, and I know this sounds really lame, but growing up, like the English accent just makes us sound a little bit smarter, and she sounds like a fucking moron. So I find it very disappointing. Anyway.
And let's not forget, there are so many people out there that start their little nonprofit organizations just to get money. Christian action.
You get to be tax exempt. Oh, there's a million of those. I didn't realize that was something in the UK too. Like, do you guys have a whole bunch of evangelical tax exempt church things? Like
the one and only
Traver's
thing
answer.
The one and only thing that Bill Maher was ever right about was that, if you want to get rich, just start a church, get all that tax exempt money.
It's hilarious. I was an evangelical for almost 20 years.
Wow.
So what this lady is saying is very un-Christ-like. Of course, I'm no longer a Christian, but I used to teach and go door to door teaching people the Bible. And so just to debunk her with the Bible, it says in Galatians chapter 3, verse 28, it says, there's neither Jew nor Greek, nor slave, nor free, nor is male or female, for you all are one in Christ. So therefore, to say that somebody who is of the, religion of Islam, calling them a huge chunk of them terrorists and things like that, that's very unloving, because you're painting the group with a broad brush. In fact, people who practice Judaism without Zionism they are very deeply loving and very accepting people. People who practice Islam are deeply loving and accepting people. People who actually follow what Jesus said are deeply loving and compassionate people. It's the perversion of it, which Zionism does, which Christian Zionism does. And there's perversions in every single type of religion, even perversions, even when it comes to atheists. The problem is that you have people like this who are trying to do a us versus them, which keeps the workers divided, because most workers are people who are either religious, and if they're not religious, then, you know, they have some proximity to religion. And it really keeps us divided against one another so that we don't actually come together to improve our material conditions.
Yeah, it's intertwined with the class war, and people like her are tools of it. But with people like this, it's hard to know because there's people that legitimately believe they're nonsense. And then there's people that it's a total grift. And I don't always know the difference. I mean, she's the founder of Christian Action. She sounds very Christian. So let's let her finish.
Action against anti-Semitism. And I also help organize these protests, the counter-protests with Stop the Hate. Today, the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign are marching under...
Yeah, bye-bye.
So it turns out that this bimbo, with all due respect, apparently is in league with Stop Anti-Semitism and going around and basically doxing people who speak out against the state of Israel. So
Bet you she could trace her funds to the ADL.
I mean, Jay, how do you think she affords those diamond cross earrings of hers?
Well, I'm just saying she's accepted. I would not be surprised if somebody were to take the time and go through the records and dig through her paperwork that she is getting funding some way, somehow from some sort of Zionist organization, that this is not something that she just believes in. Somebody
better check them books.
I'm just saying, I don't know what the rules are over there for that, but because that doesn't seem like a real thing.